Right, my friends, today I'm going to give you an Ollie masterclass. Not just the basic Ollie, we're going to go through the 1 foot Ollie, also known as the Ollie North, and we're going to do the Ollie body varial or Ollie sex change as well. So if you're into stuff like that and you want to skip ahead to the further Ollies in the tutorial, use the chapters. Other than that, let's get into the first bit. So we all know the basic Ollie, a jump on a skateboard, a bunny hop if you will. All we have to do for this one is some very simple steps that are going to lead us to doing it, but it's going to take some practice as well. So the formula, take the steps, add the practice, equal the Ollie. Let's get into the first steps. So first off, I'm going to give you my optimal foot position. Foot position can be altered from person to person, but this is what I would see as the optimal position. Foot about halfway up the board, maybe a few percentile to the upper side. Back foot in the center of the tail, not here, and certainly not with your whole foot flat. We're gonna be using the ball of our foot. So just like this here, right on the tip of the center. And I'll tell you why, I explained it for you. I've covered this in previous videos, but if this is your first one, welcome. Basically, if you pop from the middle, you get a straight up, which is exactly what we're looking for. But if you pop too far from the left side, the board will spin. And the same happens if you pop it from the other side. So a little bit of a knowledge of physics is going to help us massively with our ability to master the technique of the board popping. So the foot position is definitely the easiest part. And by the way, I would suggest that if you're coming to this video straight after buying your first skateboard, spend a day just learning how to ride around. It's going to help you massively before you do this. Just trust me on that one. But if you already can, let's keep going. So feet exactly where I tell you, but the back foot is going to be doing most of the heavy lifting. You're going to be jumping off this back leg and bringing this leg up. As you do that, you jump off this leg and bring this one up. Without the skateboard, your Ollie is going to look something like this. So you go, this leg comes up, this leg puts the pressure down to bring the nose of the board up. So imagine this is still on the board and the board is coming up like this, like this. So pressure down on this foot, bring this one up and jump. Then we bring our knees up as we jump. So it's not like a, or like a, you bring your knees up, you bring this leg up first, and you're jumping off this leg predominantly. So that's exactly the movement we're going for. And we're also aiming to land with our legs spread apart. And a bit of extra balance tips, have your arms in front of you so that if you fall, you at least fall like this, instead of having them behind you or beside you when you fall and not knowing where you could go. Biggest tip right there if you ask me. So if you need that reiterated, watch that section again, but if you got it already, let's jump onto the board now. As I said, we're gonna use that back foot to jump off that back foot. You're gonna jump off the back foot. Can't say that enough. So you're gonna pop, and as you bring this leg up, the board's gonna come up on this side. So you're gonna go like that. But now a lot of tutorials will tell you to slide your foot up, but actively trying to slide the foot up isn't as useful as you might think. It's better to just focus on bringing this knee up, and that will automatically slide the foot up the board for you. So focus on bringing the knee up instead of like pushing the foot forward like that, you see? So we're gonna pop off this leg, bring this one up, and we're gonna aim to bring both knees up at the same time and land with our feet spread apart. So that's a little baby one for you. That's what we're gonna start with. Now, I'd also recommend maybe trying this, like say if you've got some grass nearby and you wanna make sure that you land with some balance or you can't have the board shoot out from you, like pretend this dirt here is grass. Stand on the concrete at the edge of the skate park or the wood at the edge of the ramp and just Ollie and jump into the dirt, into the grass, preferably not dirt, because then you have a lot more stability when you land and the board won't shoot out any which way like it might do on concrete if you land a bit misbalanced. It doesn't happen often, but if you're worried about falling, it's a little safety precaution. So at this point, I've given you pretty much most of the information that you need for the basic Ollie. I'm gonna put a bunch of slow-mos on screen now so you can really see exactly what's happening and how it's going down. But like I said, foot halfway up the board, back foot, center of the tail, jump off the back foot, bring the front one up, and land with your feet spread apart, arms in front of you, and it should go like that. The better you land, the closer you land to this position here, with your hands in front of you and your legs spread apart on the board, the much better off you're going to be balance-wise. Other than that, it's just taking all these steps and practicing them time after time after time. You'll land one, you'll fail 10. You'll land another one, you'll fail 5, and slowly you'll fail less the more you land, and that is just practice and training it in its purest form. So put in the time, put in the work, and you will have an ollie that is just as good as anyone else's. And the higher you learn to jump and bring your knees up, the higher your ollie will be. That's pretty much it for the basic ollie. Let's move on to the next one. So next up, we're going to do the Ollie body varial, also known as the Ollie sex change. Basically, this one is where we Ollie and we switch our stance halfway through the air. So you jump up and then start in whatever way you're going. Say it's regular with your feet this way. You Ollie, switch your stance, go down the other way and ride away. That's what we're going to go over. One of my personal favorites. Considerably harder than the base level Ollie. So if you skip to this part, you can already Ollie. As long as you have a good one, you should be fine. But not much else to say. Let's get into the tutorial. And that is the Ollie body varial. How are we going to do it? Let's find out. So we need to go over exactly how we get our body to varial in the air. Now, this is something that really needs to be taken into consideration, and that's the fact that you don't instantly pop and then try and switch the body stance straight away. So you don't do like this, where you go and try and pop and instantly switch. That's not how it works. That will cause the board to flip like you just saw there, because you're not giving it a chance to level out. Basically, come here. What you have to do for this one is you really have to watch the slow-mos and see exactly the process of what my feet do from the point of popping to the point where I level out the board with the front foot and then kind of bounce off the board with my front foot to get my body to turn and keep everything straight and the board flat. Keeping the board flat is the hardest thing. This trick takes time, so don't worry if you don't get it in the first hour or so, because practice it a little bit every single day that you skate and you'll get it eventually, but not an easy one. So keep that in mind. Just because it's an Ollie variation doesn't mean you're going to get it straight away. So what we're going to do is have our feet in the same position that we would have for our normal Ollie, popping straight from the tail, but as soon as we pop, we then push the front foot forward to level out the board, and at that time we level out the board, you jump, push off the front foot, and then do the spin. It makes the board stay flat, and it just makes things way easier for you and way less dangerous, less chance of landing in primo. So to do it properly, you're going to do a few like that where the board doesn't level out completely, but as long as you try and push that front foot down before you turn your hips, you're going to be better off. And honestly, the rotation, pretty much all in the hips. The shoulders don't do very much. The sketchier ones are always going to come first. Yes, I'm doing them like that on purpose to try and show the progression of how it's going to look. But essentially, there's not much else to say for this one. The main tip is just bouncing off that front foot after you've leveled out the board, and then the back foot follows it round. So as soon as you've bounced off the front, you go like, and then that is actually a good way you could practice it right there. You can pop the board up without actually popping, so just put the nose in the air, push the board down with the front foot, and then body varial like that. That is kind of the gist of the motion, if you will. But with enough practice, enough training, and watching as many of these slow-mos as you need to, because they're on screen right now in 240 FPS, so you can really see the trick broken down frame by frame, step by step. But essentially, once you've practiced it enough, once you've put a few weeks, days, months training in, whatever it may cost, you should end up with one like this. That is also another thing that will happen often there as well. Like, you'll do it, you'll get onto the board, and then you'll be leaning slightly over, and you'll step off. Another common mistake, so I'll leave this section in. Once you've practiced it enough, you should end up with one like that. Onto the Ollie North. Finally for this video, we've got the Ollie North. You can also do the Ollie South, but the Ollie South doesn't look anywhere near as good. Essentially, that's a real easy one. I'll show you that now. You just pop and kick your popping leg off the back, easier and fakey. But it's not a very stylish trick, so we'll miss that one for now. But it is a trick, so if you want to use it in skate, feel free. But the Ollie North, let's get into it. Possibly the worst Ollie North ever done right there. The board quarter flipped and then somehow came back. Let me do another one. There we go, the Ollie North there. basically consists of the front foot just coming off the front of the board. Some people can do it crazy where their front foot comes off like half a meter. I'm not at that level yet. I'm still very recent to learning this one, but I feel like that helps with the tutorials because I still know some of the nuances of learning the trick because I've not yet mastered it, you know? So I can really tell you what the beginner's feeling, how they're learning it, and what we need to do to get there. So let's get into it. So very similar to our jumping off the front foot and then switching our body for the body varial. This one, instead of just instantly popping and trying to kick your front foot off the end, you're gonna not only cause the board to flip, you might also get the board to scrape down your leg when you can't get the foot back in time. So again, you don't just instantly pop and try and kick the foot off. That doesn't make sense, it doesn't work. I used to do that all the time and it was an utter failure. So the real way to actually get that front foot off, and I didn't realize this till way later in actually practicing this trick, I kind of gave up on it for years and came back to it. But what you do is you kick the front foot down. So the front foot, like when you pop the ollie and level out the board, you kick the front foot down to push the board downwards and out of the way. So you pop from the back, the front foot comes up, the board levels out, and once you're here, you use this front foot to kick the board down, and that makes your foot come forward. So it gets the board out of the way and gives you enough time to bring it back like that. Easier said than done, I know, but that's how you really do it. So a lot of practice required for this one, and it's really hard to like break it down into steps because you can't so much kick the front foot off without risking hurting yourself if you're trying to not bring it back quick enough or get it caught on the nose or something like that. So you really just need to practice popping and pushing that front foot down. Like at first you'll get the tiniest bit of foot off the board. It's definitely worth filming your own slow-mos for this one and watching exactly how much you get off the board and slowly watching that over time, how it gets better and how you get more of the foot off. Also watching my slow-mos to see exactly how my back foot pops, my front foot levels out and then kicks forward just to get the board to get out of the way and get the front foot off. But essentially it's all practice and just knowing the tips that I've showed you today, because they're all going to help you get a tiny bit of the foot off like that. That's pretty much how I started, and then after a while with enough practice you should be able to get one like this. It's also very common to land like with the back foot on the tail predominantly, because obviously you're kicking the front foot off, so you've got less weight on the front of the board, so the tail is naturally going to come down first. But enough practice and a good one would look like that. I'd say that was pretty mid.
That's the best one you've done, I think.
I'd say that was okay, but yeah, just practice it, watch the slow-mos on screen over and over and over again, break down the steps. That is the Ollie Masterclass. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what tricks you're struggling with, and I'll see you in the next one.